Ага. Қазір мұнда запись бастаймын.
Recording in progress.
Все, можете начинать.
Ассаламу алейкум. Қош келдіңіздер. Аса құрметті бүгінгі диссертациялық жұмыстың қоғамдық ашық түрде қорғау отырысына қатысушылар. Диссертация жұмысы талапкердің бағыты бойынша ағылшын тілінде жазылған, сол себептен бұл диссертация ағылшын тілінде жүруге тиісті. Ал енді мен ары қарай бастай берейін. Добро пожаловать, дорогие участники публичной защиты диссертационного совета. Так как диссертация выполнена на английском языке, то все процедуры будут проходить на английском языке. В этой связи хотелось бы сказать, так как председатель диссертационного совета является научным консультантом соискателя, буду вести заседание я, Абаканов Танаткан Даскараевич. Впоследствии будем мы детально с вами знакомиться. Welcome to this public dissertation defense Сакеновой Саи Мейрхановны on the topic features of the formation of bioclimatic architecture of low-rise urban housing in southeastern Kazakhstan. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, PhD, in the educational program AD 07311 Architecture. The public dissertation defense is conducted in the fixed format and in the live online broadcast on the internet. To ensure openness, the compliance with the requirements of the defense procedure, I ask all members of the dissertation council, official reviewers, as well as all participants in the meeting to turn on video cameras. Due to the fact that the chairperson of the dissertation council, Dina Amandikova, is to the candidates supervisor, I will chair of the this council. The public dissertation defense is conducted in the mixed format. Ага, я об этом сказал, да. According to the model provision on the dissertation council, a public defense can begin its work in the presence of the 4 permanent members of the dissertation council and 3 temporary members of the dissertation council in the relevant field of the doctoral research. Dear attendants, allow me to introduce the members of the dissertation council. Permanent members of the dissertation council in the field of 8D073 architecture and construction is the educational program 8D07311 6D042 architecture 8D07321 6D07290 construction. Chairman of the dissertation council, candidate of architecture, research professor of the School of Design, International Educational Corporation, Almaty, Amantikova Dina Abil Nazimovna. The party chairman, Doctor of Technical Science, Amantikova, please. The party chairman, Doctor of Technical Science, Professor Almas Service LLP, Almaty, Abakan, Tanakantas me. The party member of the dissertation council, Doctor of Architecture, Professor of the Department of Architecture and Interior Design, Sahir College of the Engineering, University of Bahrain, Salah Islam Hamdi El Khonavi. Welcome, Professor. We are pleased to see you with us in person. Where?
Islam Hamdi.
Scientific Secretary, PhD, Associate Professor of the Faculty of Construction Technologies and Management, International Education Corporation, Almaty, Tuktamysova Aynur Zakirovna. Temporary member of the dissertation council, Mamadov Seymour, Etibar Oğlu, PhD, Associate Professor, Gumilev Euro-Asian National University, Astana, Republic of Kazakhstan.
Добрый день, здесь я.
Хайфа Ibrahim Al-Khalifa, PhD, Dean of the College of Engineering, Department of Architecture and Interior Design, University of Bahrain, Isa Town, Kingdom of Bahrain.
Yes.
Here, please. Arkem Maratovich Esenbay, PhD, Chief Specialist of the Department of Urban Planning Regulations of the Republican State and Enterprise, Republican Center of State Urban Planning and Cadastre, Astana, Republic of Kazakhstan.
Добрый день, здесь.
All of 7 members of the dissertation council are present in the meeting. They are in a quorum and the meeting is valid. There is one question on the agenda. The agenda show open on the screen. Consideration of the dissertation work of Сакеновой Саи Мейрхановны on the topic Futures of the Formation of Bioclimatic Architecture of Low-rise Urban Housing in Southeastern Kazakhstan for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy PhD in the educational program AD 07311 Architecture. Scientific consultants. Амандыкова Дина Абельмажинова, кандидат of architecture, research professor at the School of Design, International Educational Corporation of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Osama Kombe, PhD, Professor of Architecture and Urban Development, Department of Architecture, Faculty of Engineering, Tanta University, Tanta, Egypt. Official reviews. Gulnara Superbetovna Maulianova, candidate of architecture, associate professor of the Department of Architecture, Bastenov Institute of Architecture and Construction, Satpayev University, Almaty, Republic of Kazakhstan. Khojahmetov Adlet Yerbolly, PhD, Chief Architect of Department Director of the Design Company AS Engineering LLP, Karakanda, Republic of Kazakhstan. The dissertation was completed at the School of Architecture of the International Educational Corporation. Protection language English. They are members of the dissertation council. What are your suggestions on the agenda or comments?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
There was a proposal to approve the agenda of the meeting and proceed of the consideration of the thesis.
Sure.
The floor for qualitated with the basic information about the applicant Сакеновой Саи Мейрхановны is given to the scientific Secretary of the Dissertation Council, PhD, Toktamisova Ainur Zakirovna. Please.
Thank you, dear colleagues. Allow me to present the documents of the applicant, Сакеновой Саи. Information on the doctoral candidate, date and place of birth, citizenship, ethnic city. Born on the 17th October 1987, Semipalatinsk, East Kazakhstan region, now Semey Abay region, Republic of Kazakhstan, citizen of the Republic of Kazakhstan, ethnic Kazakh. Information on doctoral studies, university and period of study. International Education Corporation, KazGASA 2020-2025, including a 2 years academic year from 2022 to 2024. Doctoral specialty, education program 8D07311, architecture. Please and date of dissertation defense. International Education Corporation, 28 Raskolbekov Street, Almaty, 29 June 2026. Dissertation topic and language, specific features of the development of bioclimatic architecture for low-rise urban housing in southeastern Kazakhstan, English. Scientific advisor, domestic scientific advisor, Dina Abelmajinovna, candidate of architecture, research of professor at the School of Design, International Education Corporation, Almaty, Republic of Kazakhstan. Foreign scientific advisor, Usama Komor, Doctor of Architecture, Professor at Tanta University, Tanta, Egypt. Official reviewers, Adlet Yerbolulu Kojahmetov, PhD, Chief Architect and Deputy Director of AS Engineering LLP. Gulnara Juparbekovna Maulenova, Candidate of Architecture, Associate Professor of the Department of Architecture, Satpayev University. Total number publication including 6 in journals included in the list of recommended scientific publications, 1 in foreign publications indexed in Web of Science or Scopus 2 article in proceeding of the international conference, including 3 articles. Proceeding foreign conference, 3 articles. Employment history, residential address and contact details. Certified the document, scientific secretary of the dissertation council, Toktamisova Ainur.
Thank you.
Нет, еще. Сейчас, минутку. The applicant submitted all the necessary documents and materials provided for in the standard regulation on the dissertation council, as well as the regulation on the dissertation council of the International Education Corporation. I will present the main ones during the meeting. If the members of the dissertation council needed to familiarize themselves with the original documents, they are here in the hall and ready for presentation. And so this is invitation paper in the abstract in Kazakh language, English, and Russian. And an extract from the minutes of the extended meeting of the school architecture presented. 1 minute. Now we'll go straight to the dissertation to recommend for difference in the dissertation council of the International Educational Corporation for the degree of doctoral of philosophy PhD in the education program AD 07311 architecture. Next one. Minutes. Next one is language. A certificate from the comparative analysis of the National Center for States Scientific and Technical Expertise was presented, according to which no matches were found with the fund and issued accordingly. The conclusion of the ethics commission of the International Educational Corporation was presented, which did not reveal any violation. And the list of works was previously announced. And certificate from the National Center for State Scientific and Technical Expertise, joint stock company of the availability of the applicant publication, as well as information on the scientific indicators of scientific journals in which the applicant's work date where publication is presented. Thank you, I'm done. Okay.
Thank you. Dear members of the dissertation council, do you have any questions for the academic secretary or the applicant regarding and their submitted materials?
No.
If there are no questions, please give your opinion on the rules of the applicant's speech. There was a proposal to provide 20 minutes for report. Does anyone agree? No?
No.
The floor for the report is given to applicant Сакеновой Саи Мейрхановны to present the main provisions on the dissertation research. The performance time is 20 minutes. Please, you give the floor.
That's the
Thank you, dear Chairperson.
Извините, звук отключен. Не слышно.
Efficiency and climatic adaptation in temporary architecture and plan.
Сая, пожалуйста, можно начать заново, пожалуйста? Звук не слышно было, вы, кажется, не включили свой звук, да? Ага. Марат Аркенович, если сейчас скажете, да? Аркен Маратович, извините, если сейчас я отключу.
Can you hear me? Hello? Let me present the main results of my dissertation research entitled Specific Features Specific Features of the Development of Bioclimatic Architecture for Low-Rise Urban Housing in Southeastern Kazakhstan. The relevance of the research is determined by the growing importance of the environmental sustainability, energy efficiency, and climatic adaptation in contemporary architecture and urban planning. Residential architecture today cannot be considered only as a formal or typological category. It must respond to climate, territory, urban morphology, and the quality of the living environment. This issue is especially important in southeastern Kazakhstan. The region is characterized by a sharply continental climate, high solar exposure, strong seasonal temperature contrast, wind impacts, and a heterogeneous urban environment. These conditions directly influence the formation of low-rise urban housing. The research gap lies in the absence of regionally differentiated theoretical model of bioclimatic architecture for low-rise urban housing under the conditions of southeastern Kazakhstan. Existing approaches insufficiently consider urban microclimatic heterogeneity and the differences between territory types. Therefore, the novelty of the research lies not in inventing isolated passive techniques, but in systemizing the transition from climatic and urban factors to microclimatic zone classification, differentiated architectural recommendations, and the author's model. The scientific hypothesis is that bioclimatic architecture of low-rise urban housing can serve as an effective model for forming a sustainable residential environment. According for urban microclimatic heterogeneity and differentiated design solutions, according to site type increases the effectiveness of design and improves the adaptation of housing to local conditions. The aim of the study is to identify the specific features and principles of the development of bioclimatic architecture for low-rise urban housing in southeastern Kazakhstan, taking into account regional natural climatic and urban planning conditions. The object of the study is the bioclimatic architecture of low-rise urban housing with Almaty, Taldykurgan, and Kunaev used as case cities. The subject of the study is regularities, governing architectural planning, spatial, volumetric, and environmental solutions for low-rise urban housing with regard to natural and climatic factors. The objectives of the research are to analyze the history of bioclimatic architecture, examine international and domestic experience, determine the factors influencing low-rise housing in southeastern Kazakhstan, identify the specific features of architectural solutions, and develop recommendations for bioclimatic urban housing. The methodological basis of the dissertation includes a set of complementary methods: theoretical analysis of scholarly literature, comparative typological analysis of architectural solutions, analysis of natural and climatic factors, theoretical review of bioclimatic assessment tools, simplified comparative interpretation using Mahoney tables, graphic analytic interpretation, and architectural synthesis. The research logic is sequential. It moves from the identification of the research gap to theoretical analysis, experience analysis, factor systemization, microclimatic differentiation, zone classification, differentiated design response, and finally to the author's model. This logic is important because it demonstrates the transition from theoretical to practical design decision making. The dissertation consists of an introduction, 3 sections, a conclusion, list of references, and appendices. The main text comprises 144 numbered pages before the appendices. The list of references includes 221 titles, and the appendices contain analytical diagrams, comparative schemes, microclimatic zoning materials, and the author's conceptual model. The theoretical foundation of the research is based on the understanding of bioclimatic architecture as an architectural environment approach rather than only an engineering or technological method. In this study, bioclimatic architecture is considered as a system in which buildings and residential environments are shaped in response to climate, solar exposure, wind regime, topography, and local environmental conditions. The historiographic analysis shows that bioclimatic architecture evolved from vernacular climatic adaptation to scientifically grounded climate-responsive design, and then to sustainable development and digital microclimate analysis. This evolution confirms that climate orientation, ventilation, materials, landscape, and urban morphology are not background conditions. They are determining factors of architectural design. The works of Victor Olgier, Louis de Garrido, Willy Weber, Seamus Yanes, Norbert Lechner, Ken Yang, Richard Saxon, Richard Hyde, and other researchers form the theoretical basis for understanding bioclimatic design as an integrated system of climate adaptation, passive strategies, ecological thinking, and energy-efficient architectural solutions. The Olgier bioclimatic chart is considered in the dissertation as a theoretical and methodological reference for understanding the relationship between climate and thermal comfort. Mahoney tables are used as a simplified comparative tool for translating basic climatic parameters into preliminary climate-responsive architectural recommendations for Almaty, Konaev, and Taldykorgan. The analysis of international and domestic experience showed that bioclimatic principles are widely used in the form of building orientation, shading, natural ventilation, thermal mass, green roofs, courtyards, adaptive facades, and landscape integration. In Kazakhstan, however, these principles are still applied mainly fragmentarily. This confirms the need for a regional model adapted to local climatic, socioeconomic, and urban planning conditions. The conclusion of Section 1 is that the development of bioclimatic architecture requires a transition from universal design solutions to regionally and locally differentiated approaches. For low-rise housing in southeastern Kazakhstan, this means that climatic principles should be translated into specific architectural and planning solutions according to the conditions of each territory. The second section identifies the system of factors influencing the formation of bioclimatic low-rise urban housing in southeastern Kazakhstan. This includes natural and climatic factors, urban planning and morphological factors, socioeconomic and demographic factors, technological factors, and regulatory methodological requirements of sustainable construction. The comparative climatic analysis of Almaty, Kunaev, and Taldykorgan shows that all three cities belong to a sharply continental climatic context, but they differ in terrain, urban morphology, wind exposure, water bodies, green structure, and local landscape conditions. These differences are important because they affect overheating risk, ventilation potential, winter heat retention, and the comfort of open and semi-open residential spaces. The Mahoney-based comparative interpretation helped clarify the preliminary architectural responses for the three cities: control of solar radiation, protection from overheating, winter heat retention, natural ventilation, and the selection of envelope and planning solutions. In the dissertation, these recommendations are not treated as ready-made design recipes, but as a climate-based analytical layer that supports further microclimatic differentiation. The analysis of sustainable construction certification systems such as LEED, BREEAM, DGNB, WELL, Green Star, HQE, KazB, and the national OMIR system showed that universal environmental criteria require adaptation to the climatic and socioeconomic conditions of Kazakhstan. This is especially relevant for low-rise housing, where the relationship with the site, ground surface, courtyard space, vegetation, and wind regime is direct. The conclusion of Section 2 is that the formation of bioclimatic low-rise urban housing is determined not by one isolated condition, but by a system of interrelated factors. Their combined action manifests itself through microclimatic differences in the urban environment. Therefore, the next step is to move from general regional analysis to zone-based architectural differentiation. The next group of slides presents the graphic analytical interpretation of the three cities. The maps are based on open and official data, including climate norms and station data. Also, municipal or open geodata were available. The maps are authors' graphic processing and are used for design interpretation. It is important to clarify that these maps are not regulatory zoning plans. cadastral boundaries or CFD simulations. They are analytical diagrams intended to identify dominant combinations of climatic, morphological, landscape, and typographic factors. This methodological limitation is important because the maps are used as an architectural decision-making tool rather than as a legal or engineering documentation. For Almaty, the analysis shows a complex urban structure with strong topographic influence, variable development density, important green-blue elements, and different wind and insulation conditions. For Kunaev, the open lakeside urban fabric and water-related microclimatic influence are especially significant. For Taldekorgan, the valley-related structure, topography, and green areas form specific local conditions. As a result, the dissertation identifies microclimatic zone types as analytical categories. For architectural decision-making. These zone types do not replace official zoning, but help determine which architectural response are more appropriate for a specific territory. Protection from overheating, wind buffering, improved ventilation, solar access, landscape cooling, or envelope strengthening. This block is central to the dissertation because it substantiates the transition from climatic description to architectural differentiation. In other words, the maps and zone criteria show why one universal solution for low-rise housing is insufficient under the conditions of southeastern Kazakhstan. The third section examines low-rise urban housing in southeastern Kazakhstan as an object of bioclimatic design. The analysis includes architectural and planning solutions, spatial and volumetric features, the relationship between housing and the urban system, and the connection between residential development and the natural environment. The case studies of contemporary residential complexes show, just a second, let me find them. Complexes show the premium of low-rise formats increasingly use courtyards, landscaping, terraces, roof spaces, open and semi-open areas, and controlled access to green environments. However, these solutions are often determined by market positioning rather than by a systematic bioclimatic methodology. The analysis of existing practice revealed several deficits. Insufficient differentiation by microclimatic conditions, weak integration of wind and solar analysis into planning decisions, limited use of landscape as a climatic regulator, and the lack of a clear zone problem response logic in residential design. Therefore, the dissertation proposes a transition from general recommendations to differentiated response groups. Each response group is linked to a specific bioclimatic function, improving winter heat retention, reducing summer overheating, supporting natural ventilation, regulating solar exposure, improving the microclimate of courtyard spaces, and increasing the environmental quality of the residential environment. The conclusion of this analytical block is that low-rise housing has significant potential for sustainable development. Its advantage lies in its direct relationship with the ground surface, landscape, vegetation, courtyard space, and local airflow. This makes it especially suitable for bioclimatic adaptation, provided that the design response is differentiated by site conditions. Architectural and planning solutions include orientation of buildings, functional zoning, compact planning structures, the organization of buffer spaces, and the arrangement of courtyards and semi-open areas. Their purpose is to create a rational internal structure that responds to solar access, wind direction, and seasonal thermal conditions. The spatial and volumetric solutions regulate the relationship between building form, height, proportions, courtyard configuration, and open space. They help reduce overheating, improve shading, support natural ventilation, and create comfortable transition between indoor, semi-open, and outdoor environment. Envelope and construction solutions include thermal insulation, climate-responsive facade design, reduced thermal bridges, appropriate glazing, roof protection, and the use of local and environmentally safe materials. These solutions are especially important for maintaining seasonal thermal balance under conditions of cold winter and hot summers. Solar and daylight solutions regulate solar heat gains and natural lighting. They include differentiated glazing, south-oriented solar access, horizontal shading for southern facades, vertical shading for eastern and western facades, and transitional facade elements that control light and heat according to season. Aeration and ventilation solutions provide controlled seasonal air exchange. They include cross ventilation, wind responsive opening placement, stack driven vertical ventilation, night purge ventilation, mixed mode ventilation, and internal airflow paths that support passive cooling without excessive dependence on mechanical systems. Microclimatic site scale solutions include wind protection, wind protective vegetation, seasonal shading, permeable and low heat absorbing surfaces, aeration corridors, water and green elements, topography responsive placement, and climatically justified spacing between buildings. Their task is to improve the comfort of courtyards, pedestrian zones, and semi-open residential spaces. The summary table brings these solution groups together. It shows the key design tools, their bioclimatic function, and their expected effect. The integrated result is climate-responsive design, improved environmental comfort, low energy demand, and greater adaptability of low-rise housing to the conditions of southeastern Kazakhstan. The main principle is that these solutions are not universal recipes. Their effectiveness depends on the dominant microclimatic driver of each zone. Therefore, the same low-rise housing typology may require different planning, volumetric envelope, solar ventilation, and landscape responses in different parts of the city. The final scientific result of the dissertation is author's model for the formation of bioclimatic architecture of low-rise urban housing based on microclimatic differentiation. The model systemizes the relationship between factors, zone types, design strategies, and expected performance outcomes. The model is structured in several levels. The first level identifies the primary driving factors: natural and climatic, territorial and landscape, urban planning, and anthropogenic factors. The second level explains the microclimatic formation conditions, climate processes, urban morphology, surface and material properties, and the environmental energy context. The next level translates the analysis into microclimatic zones and zone-specific design strategies. The final level connects these strategies with performance-based outcomes: ventilation performance, solar and daylight performance, thermal comfort, overheating risk reduction, and energy and environmental performance. The key distinction of the model is that it translates spatial and environmental heterogeneity into specific architectural planning responses. It can function not only as an analytical scheme, but also as a decision-making tool for context-sensitive design of low-rise housing, urban housing. The main scientific conclusion of the dissertation is that the formation of bioclimatic low-rise urban housing in southeastern Kazakhstan requires a differentiated approach based on the microclimatic heterogeneity of the urban environment. This confirms the research hypothesis and demonstrates the need to move from generalized urban planning regulation to more detailed architectural interpretation of site conditions. The methodological conclusion is that an integrated research integrated research framework combining climatic analysis, urban and site assessment, microclimatic differentiation, and zone classification makes it possible to derive evidence-based architectural responses for local conditions. The practical conclusion is that the developed recommendations include differentiated architectural planning, spatial volumetric envelope construction, solar daylight, aeration, ventilation, and microclimatic solutions adapted to different zone types. These recommendations may be used in architectural practice, regional methodological documents, educational programs, and further research. Thus, the aim of the study has been achieved, the research objectives have been fulfilled, and the hypothesis has been confirmed. The dissertation contributes to the theoretical and methodological development of bioclimatic architecture and provides practical recommendations for sustainable, comfortable, and climate-responsive low-rise residential environment. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaya.
Thank you.
Do the members of the dissertation council have any questions for the applicant, please? Please, questions.
Добрый день. Я могу задать пару вопросов?
Сейчас, подождите минуточку, звук я включу. Сейчас, минутку. Можете, ага? Спасибо.
Добрый день. Меня зовут Мамедов Тимур.
Все. Можете продолжать, спасибо.
Ага, спасибо. У меня есть несколько вопросов по вашей диссертации. Первый вопрос касается у меня границы исследований. В вашей теме границы исследований указывается Юго-Восточный Казахстан, в структуру которого входит примерно около 15 городов. Почему в своем исследовании вы сужаете территориальные границы до 3 городов – Алматы, Талдыкурган и Кунаев?
Вы можете не включать и говорить, будет слышно. Нет. Костюма. Джерри, костюм.
Спасибо большое за ваш вопрос. Почему выбраны именно эти 3 города? Потому что это крупнейшие города региона с разными климатическими и градостроительными условиями. И это позволило выявить как различия между городами, так и микроклиматическую неоднородность внутри каждого города. Они являются показательными.
Мгм. Ну, я бы все равно, получается, из этих 15 городов сделал бы какие-то группы и там уже бы их разбирал, на мой взгляд. Следующий вопрос у меня касается актуальности. Актуальность всегда в основном связывает...
Мгм.
Нормально все?
Да, все.
Следующий вопрос связан с актуальностью и статистикой. В своем разделе 2.3 вы указываете, что в 2022 году было введено 295,3 тысячи квадратных метров жилья, в 2023 – 320. Однако вы не указываете именно количественные показатели по малоэтажному жилью. При этом в разделе 3.1 «Анализ генеральных планов Алматы» вы показываете статистику, которая демонстрирует снижение малоэтажной застройки с 95% до 15%. Таким образом, я не увидел современную статистику, показывающую рост спроса на данный тип городской застройки, а также какие-то социологические исследования, показывающие мне требования, потребность населения к данному типу. На какие аспекты вы опираетесь при обосновании необходимости размещения малоэтажной жилой застройки в структуре крупных городов?
Спасибо большое за вопрос. Смотрите, Алматы, допустим, у нас показывает последствия недостаточного учета климата. Предгорная котловина, плотная застройка, нарушенные вентиляционные коридоры и смог. И, конечно, мое исследование не меняет уже эту построенную среду, да, но дает основу для более грамотного будущего развития города. А мы все знаем, что именно малоэтажное жилье может дать нам хорошую адаптивность с точки зрения биоклиматического подхода к проектированию.
Мгм. То есть ваша актуальность основана на то, что мы все знаем. Еще у меня несколько вопросов. Разрешите, пожалуйста, занять ваше время. Также в своей диссертации в разделе 1.3 вы анализируете научные труды Мамедовой Лейли Эльдаровны, Абилова Алексея Жилхановны, там, например, их статья «Применение биоклиматического проектирования в городе Алматы». Чем данные научно-теоретические труды отличаются от ваших предложений?
Моя работа отличается, наверное, своей главной идеей, и она заключается в том, что универсальных биоклиматических решений не существует, и архитектура должна формироваться именно от климата и уточняться уже на уровне микроклимата конкретного участка.
Также вопрос по сравнению у меня есть. В пункте 3.2 в своем исследовании вы анализируете... Сейчас, извиняюсь, слышно?
Да, слышно. Мгм.
В пункте 3.2 в своем исследовании вы анализируете там клубный дом «Достык», который иллюстрирует применение биоклиматических и устойчивых архитектурных принципов, как вы пишете в диссертации. Алатау Хиллз, который тоже является примером застройки, учитывающей микроклиматические факторы. Опять же, какие теперь ваши полученные результаты отличаются от существующих проектных решений?
Основной результат работы — это дифференцированный биоклиматический подход, который связывает региональный климат, микроклимат участка и конкретные архитектурные решения.
То есть в этих, получается, проектах, которые вы описываете, там порядка 15 штук, данных принципов не было?
Они есть, но... Прошу прощения. Они есть, но они используются частично и фрагментарно.
Частично и фрагментарно. Еще у меня вопрос касаемо вашей модели. В разделе 3.2 вы вводите 3 базовые типологические модели малоэтажного жилья – северную, южную, умеренную. В то же время в графических приложениях, которые вы представили в C6 и по C12, вами предложен глубокий, детальный, но концептуальный спектр объемно-пространственных архитектурно-планировочных решений. Однако в иллюстративном материале прослеживается, на мой взгляд, определенный разрыв. Данные модели никак не связаны с вашими вот этими вот приложениями, которые там есть. При этом сами модели, на мой взгляд, насколько я понял, они не дифференцированы по социально-экономическим параметрам или каким-то энергоэффективным критериям. Так, есть такой разрыв вот этих вот 3 моделей, которых я как бы не увидел в ваших предложениях? Или эти предложения универсальны для всех 3 моделей?
Спасибо большое за ваше замечание. Я думаю, что да, это нужно будет связать и провести дальнейшую конкретизацию в будущих исследованиях.
Спасибо большое. И еще у меня пару вопросов. Последний. Детали модели. В пункте 3. Спасибо большое, старался. В пункте 3.4 вы предлагаете характеристики факторов в вашей авторской модели природно-климатические, градостроительные, архитектурно-планировочные. Вы приводите их составляющие: температурный режим, солнечная радиация, плотность, озеленение и так далее. Но вы не предоставляете никаких количественных показателей к данным критериям. Например, какая должна быть температура в помещении, плотность застройки, площадь озеленения. Вы очень много говорите мне про расширение с запада на восток блок, но не предоставляете какие-то глубинные показатели по комнатам, коэффициенты естественного освещения, типы вентиляции. Мне вот это вот как бы не хватает. Мне кажется, что таким образом получается как-то все обобщенно. Например, вот можно спросить вас, какую температуру в комнатах вы предлагаете в южном своей модели и в северной модели? Она разная или она одинаковая? Глубина комнат тоже мне непонятно, какая она будет.
Спасибо за вопрос. Да, вы правильно заметили, что рекомендации носят более общий характер, и дальнейшая их конкретизация также это почва для будущих исследований.
Ну и вот последний вопрос. В 3.3 вашей разделе вы переходите уже к практическому внедрению ваших рекомендаций, предлагаете конкретные участки для размещения вашей малоэтажной жилой застройки в исследуемых вами городах. При этом градостроительные решения требуют обязательной увязки с какими-то проектными предложениями, с нормативно-правовой базой и проектной документацией. Я хотел бы вас спросить, то, что ваши предложения, они сходятся с генеральным планом и ПДП данных городов? Или они разнятся? Если да, то почему?
Как мы знаем, генеральный план, вернее говоря, как мы знаем, эти города, они расширяются, и в дальнейшем их границы увеличиваются. Соответственно, в будущем, на данный момент, может быть, и нет точного сравнения с генеральным планом, но в будущем, я думаю, если будет учитываться именно биоклиматический подход к проектированию малоэтажного городского жилища, то они могут работать в симбиозе. Спасибо за вопрос.
И еще один вопрос по поводу экономической целесообразности. Вы говорите в своем разделе 2.1, что развитие зеленого строительства в Казахстане сдерживается в основном за счет высоких первоначальных капитальных затрат. В то же время вы говорите, что в долгосрочной перспективе эти инвестиции окупятся за счет снижения эксплуатационных расходов и так далее. У вас есть какой-то график, матрица между экономической целесообразностью и качеством жилой среды в зависимости от природно-климатических условий? Как мне вот эту вот какую-то грань понять? Каким домам что нужно делать и сколько примерно это будет стоить, и когда это окупится, насколько это рентабельно вообще?
Спасибо за ваш очередной вопрос. Экономическая оценка, она не входила в границы исследования, потому что цель работы была не расчет стоимости, а формирование архитектурных принципов.
Хорошо, спасибо большое за ваши ответы. Меня они все полностью устраивают.
Благодарю.
Please, next. Who will question? Кто-то вопросы?
Уважаемые коллеги, вопросы?
What was the criteria for choosing the methodology you have applied to the research work?
Thank you for your question. The methodology combines climatic analysis, urban analysis, graphical interpretation, and architectural synthesis. These methods make it possible to move from climatic data to architectural decisions, linking climate, microclimate, and building forms. Thank you.
Чё, пока нет вопросов, может, я еще один задам? Такой мелкий вопрос, но он меня заинтересовал. В выводах по первой главе вы указываете, что основным сдерживающим фактором внедрения биоклиматических принципов является недостаточная нормативная база. Подскажите, вам меня слышно?
Да, слышно все.
Все, извиняюсь. Повторюсь, в выводах по первой главе вы говорите, что основным сдерживающим фактором внедрения биоклиматических принципов является недостаточная проработка нормативной методологической базы. Подскажите, пожалуйста, этот момент, какие нормативные вы документы изучали и какие пункты и нормы вы считаете оказывают эффект сдерживания в данном случае?
В основном изучались документы, нацеленные на зеленую архитектуру устойчивую, да, это система сертификации, в частности, система сертификации ОМР, и она тоже у нас пока слабо работает.
Она относится к нормативной? Или это
В
как
целом,
рекомендательно
в целом
идет?
вот, да.
Сами нормы по проектированию каких-либо жилых структур, генерально градостроительные, вы как бы не анализировали?
Анализировала, но в данный момент я затрудняюсь привести какие-то конкретные цифры или номера ссылок внутри.
Мгм. Хорошо, спасибо. И еще вот такой вот мелкий вопрос. В своей главе последней вы приводите цены за квадратный метр в ваших коттеджных поселках. Я читал,
Они все указаны в списке используемых
Да.
источников.
да, есть это. Но тем не менее вы всегда говорите
Извиняюсь. Можете еще раз повторить, пожалуйста, извините.
в разделе 2.2 вы 3.2 вы приводите современные цены за квадратный метр в малоэтажном жилых комплексах, так скажем, которые у вас в рассматриваемых регионах. Их цена составляет там от 1,5 миллиона тенге за квадратный метр. При этом вы всегда говорите о доступности малоэтажного жилья. Скажите, пожалуйста, вы вот такой вот все-таки экономический аспект городского малоэтажного жилья ценовой политикой анализировали, насколько оно является действительно доступным? И ваши решения не повысят ли его себестоимость?
Как я уже говорила ранее, энергетические расчеты, они являются следующим инженерным этапом проверки конкретного уже проекта. Экономически имеется в виду расчеты, это уже следующий этап работы. Но в целом на данном этапе экономические расчеты или какая-либо оценка, она здесь приведена только как пример, и она не входила в границы исследования.
Вот так вот вопрос задам. Скажите, пожалуйста, вот существующие цены данных коттеджных поселков, они являются доступными?
Я думаю, что это зависит от каждого конкретного человека, в зависимости от того, кто как зарабатывает.
Хорошо, спасибо большое.
Один вопрос задам. Если ваше отношение о многоэтажных стеклянных зданиях по Аль-Фараби в Алматы, особенно вот в тех зонах, где юго-восток Алматы. Пожалуйста, ваше личное your opinion about multi-story housing with wall on glass.
На русском, на английском. Thank you for your question. As I said before, Almaty demonstrates the consequences of insufficient climate-sensitive planning and disruptive ventilation corridors and smoke. That's why I think that these buildings are making the climatic conditions of Almaty very bad. Они ухудшают климатическое состояние города, потому что блокируют естественное пространство.
Да, видите ли, сейчас
Отношение негативное.
всех правильно. И этого я ждал. Сейчас вообще надо запретить вот этот фактор, когда витражи делают полностью в Алмате, это летом столько энергии забирает, а зимой столько энергии также на отопление забирает. И опасность при землетрясении, это тех архитекторов не награждать надо, а и наказывать, те, которые... Я говорю по-русски, чтобы... Thank you. If there are no more questions, I suggest moving on the next stage of the meeting to announce the review. The floor is given to the domestic scientific consultant, candidate of architecture, Dina Abdelmazinovna Amandir. Please.
Thank you.
Here is the dissertation Sai Meyrhановны on the work features on formation of bioclimatic architecture of low-rise urban housing in Southeast Kazakhstan. The dissertation is devoted to the justification of the role of local microclimate parameters in the formation of comfortable, sustainable, and environmentally balanced residential environment. The relevance on the research is due to the ongoing process of urbanization, expanded by increasing building density and constructed space with climate. Heterogeneity of the urban environment and the quality of living conditions. The aim of the research is to identify the features of formation of low-rise residential buildings in Southeast Kazakhstan, taking into account modern principles of bioclimatic architecture. The work corresponds to current priorities of architectural science, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the strategic documents of public of Kazakhstan. The work makes significant contributions to the development of architectural theory, substantiating the transition from unified design solution to approaches based on local climatic conditions. The author has carried out a comprehensive analysis of scientific sources, candidate independent researchers, formulated grounded conclusions and proposed original approaches to formation of bioclimatic architecture. The dissertation has logical structure and internal consistency. Its scientific novelty lies in the development of approaches to bioclimatic design based on local microclimate parameters and urban differentiations. Its practical value is conveyed by the possibility of applying the results in architecture design, urban planning, and development of recommendations for sustainable residential environment. The dissertation demonstrates that architectural and planning solutions should be based on a comprehensive consideration of natural, climatic, and urban planning factors. During the research, the doctoral candidate Sai Meyrhановны demonstrated her scientific independence, responsibility, and criticism. I believe that dissertation meets the requirements of the rules for warring figures on Republic of Kazakhstan, and that Sai Meyrhановны deserves to be awarded the degree of Doctor of Philosophy PhD in the education program architecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The floor is given to the foreign scientific consultant, PhD Dr. Osama Kond. Please.
Welcome, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Professor Dina for her granting me to share in this good dissertation. I want firstly to express my happiness to this experience in a new horizons of scientific research. Basically, this give me the mind to the first of working in this dissertation and the collaboration in it and the dedication of the student Saya and his good effort to finalize this work up to this rank of genuine and good scientific level. As we know, in a scientific society, every work has an advantage and, on the other hand, some disadvantage. Honestly, I wanted to summarize in telegraphic phrases this dissertation up to now. The dissertation titled features of the formation of bioclimatic architecture of low-rise urban housing in southeastern Kazakhstan addresses the architectural challenges of climate change, rapid urbanization, and excessive energy consumption. It focuses on optimizing the interaction between architectural forms and microclimates in Almaty. Tleji Korgan and Kaniv utilizing a multi-level analysis alongside architectural strategies and bioclimatic instruments such as Olke charts, Mahoney tables, and national OMIR system, the candidate successfully established a microclimatic classification and an original design model tailored to the region's sharp continental climate. I excuse the committee to speak and to access the first is notable strength of the this dissertation in 4 points. The first regarding the methodological novelty, it introduces the region's first continuous multi-level climatic analysis, successfully merging natural environmental factors with urban planning parameters like morphology, relief, and aeration regimes. The second is microclimatic zoning provides a theoretical categoraphic generalization of microclimatic heterogeneity, justifying a transition from traditional aggregated master planning to microclimatically oriented differentiated design. The third point is regarding the digital integration, bridging traditional passive climate regulations methods with contemporary modeling tools, including building information modeling, digital twins, and climate simulation engines. The last point regarding academic autonomy demonstrate good independence. Saya demonstrates good independence, academic maturity, and a strong publication record in peer-reviewed journal as I reviewed before. Finally, I wanted to complete the final good image for this dissertation through directives for final revision to enforce the practical application of the theoretical concepts, the candidate is directed to address the following refinements prior to final submission. Only 3 points I wanted to declare them. The first is case studies. I want to prudent international comparison by incorporating case studies from similar cold winter, hot summer arid climate. This is the first point. Second point regarding the workflows, expand the specific discussion on how digital simulation tools are applied within practical architectural design workflows. And the last, regarding calculations, further elaborate on technical thermal mass calculation regarding heat retention and summer heat dissipation using local material. Finally, I want to set my recommendation that dissertation demonstrates strong theoretical and methodological competence and successfully reflect the candidate's personal contribution, because the manuscripts meets all international higher education standards and fulfills the criteria for a qualified scientific work. This is all. Thank you for patience, and I wish all the best for the researcher side and all the committee members. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Usama Komber. Yeah.
Osama Komber.
Yes. Усама Комбат сказал, теперь ага.
Прецеденты, official reviews. Да?
In accordance with the paragraphs of the standard regulation on the dissertation council, written official review of the reviewers on the applications dissertation work were submitted. The reviews are designed in accordance with the requirements of appendix number 5 of the model regulation and sent to the dissertation council in the timely manner. The floor is given to the first official reviewer, candidate of architecture, Gulnara Zuparbekovna Maulenova. Please.
Thank you. Good morning, distinguished members of the dissertation council and the guests. My apologies, my English is not very good, so I will make my review in Russian. Thank you for your understanding.
Можете включить так? Все нормально.
Письменный отзыв официального рецензента на диссертационную работу докторанта Сакеновой Саи Мейрхановны на тему особенности формирования биоклиматической архитектуры малоэтажного городского жилища в Юго-Восточном Казахстане, представлена на соискание степени доктора философии PhD по образовательной программе 7.2.07.311 архитектура. Я буду коротко по критериям и основные выводы в основании. Тема диссертации на дату ее утверждения соответствует направлению развития науки или государственным программам. Диссертационная работа соответствует приоритетному направлению развития науки и интеллектуальный потенциал страны и специализированному научному направлению архитектуры и строительства. Тема исследования связана с актуальными задачами устойчивого развития городской среды, повышения энергоэффективности жилища, адаптации архитектурных решений к природно-климатическим условиям и формирования комфорта жилой среды в условиях Юго-Восточного Казахстана. Соответствует ли приоритетным? Соответствует. Диссертация выполнена в рамках соответствует приоритетным направлению. Следующий критерий. Важность для науки. Работа вносит существенный вклад в развитие архитектурной науки в части теоретического осмысления биоклиматической архитектуры малоэтажного городского жилища. Значимость исследования заключается в переходе от усредненного климатичного подхода к анализу микроклиматической неоднородности городской среды. Автор показывает, что для Алматы, Кунаева и Кургана проектные решения должны формироваться не по единой региональной схеме, а с учетом различий рельефа, инсоляции, ветрового режима, плотности застройки, озеленения и морфологии жилой среды. Следующий критерий – принцип самостоятельности. Диссертация демонстрирует высокий уровень самостоятельной научной работы. Автором самостоятельно сформированная исследовательская логика, проведен анализ отечественного и зарубежного опыта, систематизированный природно-климатический, территориально-ландшафтный, градостроительный и архитектурно-планировочный факторы. Личный вклад соискателя выражается в разработке подхода микроклиматической дифференциации, классификации условий размещения малоэтажного жилища и формулирования дифференцированных архитектурных рекомендаций. Следующий принцип внутреннего единства. Актуальность диссертации обоснована убедительно. Современное развитие малоэтажного городского жилища в Казахстане требует учета климатических рисков, сезонных температурных контрастов, перегревов в летний период, ветровых воздействий, недостаточной аэрации отдельных участков и необходимости применения пассивных архитектурных приемов. В этом контексте обращение к биоклиматической архитектуре и микроклиматической дифференциации является современным и научным значимым. Следующий, четвертый принцип внутреннего единства. Содержание диссертации полностью отражает заявленную тему. Структура работы последовательно раскрывает теоретические основы биоклиматической архитектуры, факторы формирования малоэтажного городского жилища в региональных условиях, методику микроклиматической дифференциации и систему архитектурно-планировочных рекомендаций для исследуемых городов. Четвертый. Принцип внутреннего единства. Цель и задачи. Цели исследований поставленных задач соответствуют теме диссертации. Они направлены на выявление особенностей формирования биоклиматической архитектуры малоэтажного городского жилища, анализ природно-климатических и градостроительных факторов, определение микроклиматических различий и разработку дифференцированных проектных рекомендаций. Такая постановка задач логически раскрывает заявленную научную проблему. Все разделы диссертации логически взаимосвязаны. Теоретические положения первого раздела формируют основу для анализа факторов и регионального опыта во втором разделе. Полученные результаты далее переходят в методику микроклиматической дифференциации.
Ага, все. Ага.
Давно пропал?
Нет, только что.
Прошу прощения. Результаты и положения являются новыми, да, являются полностью новыми. Научная новизна исследований проявляется в систематизации факторов формирования биоклиматической архитектуры малоэтажного городского жилища применительно к Юго-Восточному Казахстану, выделение микроклиматической дифференциации как методологической основы проектирования и разработки авторской модели перехода анализа условий участка к дифференцированным архитектурным решениям. При этом работа развивает существующие положения биоклиматической архитектуры и адаптирует их к региональному контексту. Следующее, 5.2. Являются ли выводы новыми, полностью новыми? Выводы диссертации обладают научной новизной. Выводы диссертации обладают научной новизной в части обоснования зависимости архитектурных решений малоэтажного жилища от локальных климатических условий. Новым результатам относятся выводы о различной проектной логике для зон правовой диспозиции, умеренно защищенных участков, зон с мелиорации и участков, обусловленных структурой. 5.3. Теоретические, технологические, экономические и управленческие решения являются новыми и обоснованными, являются полностью новыми. Предложенные решения являются новыми и обоснованными в архитектурно-планировочной и методическом аспектах. Автор предлагает систему приемов, включающую объемно-планировочные, пространственные, конструктивные, ограждающие, изоляционные, аэрационные и микроклиматические решения. Их новизна заключается не в изолированном применении отдельных приемов, а в их увязке с типом микроклиматической ситуации и региональными условиями трех исследуемых городов. 6 аспект. Обоснованность основных выводов. Основные выводы диссертации опираются на теоретический анализ, сравнительное изучение международного и отечественного опыта, графоаналитическую интерпретацию климатических, картографических, ландшафтных и градостроительных данных, а также на типологический анализ малоэтажной жилой застройки. Для исследования архитектурного профиля такой комплекс методов является достаточным и обеспечивает аргументированность вывода. 7 положение. Основные положения, выносимые на защиту. Положение 1. Биоклиматическая архитектура малоэтажного городского жилища в Юго-Восточном Казахстане должна формироваться на основе микроклиматической неоднородности городской среды. Положение 2. Микроклиматическая дифференциация включает природно-климатические, территориально-ландшафтные, градостроительные и архитектурно-планировочные факторы. Положение 3. Дифференцированное архитектурное решение и авторская модель обеспечивают переход от анализа участка к интегрированному, зонально ориентированному проектному синтезу. 7.1. Является ли положение доказанным? Является ли тривиальным? Нет, не является. Является ли новым? Да, является новым. Уровень до применения широкий. Положение, выносимое на защиту, является логически обоснованным. Первое положение подтверждается анализом различий между Алматы, Кунайром и Турканом, а также выявлением локальных факторов, влияющих на комфорт жилой среды. Второе положение доказано через структурирование факторных групп и их связь с микроклиматическими условиями участка. Третье положение раскрыто в авторской модели и системе дифференцированных рекомендаций, что подтверждает прикладной потенциал исследования. По каждому положению доказано, не является тривиальным, является новым, уровень применения широкий, подтверждено публикацией. 8 пункт. Принцип достоверности, достоверность источников представляемой информации. Методология исследования обоснована и достаточно подробно описана. Работа основана на комплексном подходе, включающем историко-теоретический анализ, сравнительный анализ зарубежного и казахстанского опыта, систематизацию факторов, графоаналитическую интерпретацию открытых климатических и градостроительных данных, а также типологическое обобщение проектных приемов. 8. Принцип достоверности, достоверность источников и предоставленной информации. Результаты получены с применением современных научных подходов к архитектурному анализу и интерпретации данных. Использование открытых климатических баз, картографических материалов, графоаналитических схем, сравнительных таблиц и визуальных моделей позволяет представить исследуемую территорию как неоднородную систему, требующую дифференцированного проектного ответа. Принцип достоверности и представления информации 8.3. Теоретические выводы и выявленные взаимосвязи подтверждены результатами сравнительного и графоаналитического анализа для диссертации в области архитектуры, имеющие преимущество теоретико-методологический характер. Представленный уровень доказательности является приемлемым. Автор демонстрирует связь между микроклиматическими условиями, морфологией застройки и архитектурными приемами формирования жилища. Важные утверждения подтверждены. Важные утверждения подтверждены ссылками на современную отечественную зарубежную литературу по биоклиматической архитектуре устойчивому жилищу, климатоадаптивному проектированию, энергоэффективности и градостроительному анализу. Источниковая база позволяет раскрыть степень изученности проблемы и показать место диссертации в существующем научном поле. Следующий принцип достоверности. Использованные источники достаточно для раскрытия темы. Литературный обзор охватывает ключевые направления. Это теория биоклиматической архитектуры, устойчивое развитие городской среды, климатоадаптивное проектирование, малоэтажные жилища, региональная архитектура Казахстана и методы анализа микроклиматических условий. Принцип практической ценности. Диссертация имеет теоретическое значение, да. Диссертация имеет теоретическое значение, поскольку уточняет понимание биоклиматической архитектуры малоэтажного городского жилища как систему проектных решений, обусловленных не только региональным климатом, но и локальной микроклиматической ситуацией участка. Работа формирует основу для дальнейших исследований в области климатоадаптивной архитектуры в региональной типологии жилища. Так, практическое значение диссертации выражается в возможности использования результатов при предпроектном анализе участка, разработке рекомендаций для малоэтажной жилой застройки, учебном процессе творческого проектирования и подготовке методических материалов по устойчивой архитектуре. Наиболее применимыми являются классификации климатических ситуаций и наборы дифференцированных проектных решений. Предложения для практики являются новыми. Их научно-практическая ценность заключается в системной адаптации известных биоклиматических приемов к локальным условиям Юго-Восточного Казахстана и их увязке с конкретными климатическими зонами. Такой подход повышает адаптивность проектных рекомендаций и может быть использован архитекторами и проектными организациями. Качество написания и оформления. Качество академического письма оценивается как высокое. Текст диссертации изложен в научном стиле, структура работы логична, основные положения сформулированы последовательно, иллюстративные материалы, схемы, таблицы и модели дополняют содержание исследований и способствуют раскрытию темы. Замечания к диссертации. В отдельных фрагментах работы целесообразно еще более последовательно разграничить понятия микроклиматическое зонирование и микроклиматическая дифференциация, поскольку второе понятие диссертации имеет более широкий методический смысл. Второе замечание. Отдельные практические рекомендации можно дополнить кратким указанием приоритетности их применения для каждого из 3 городов. Указанные замечания имеют рекомендательный характер и не снижают общей научной и практической ценности диссертационной работы. Научный уровень статей докторанта по теме исследования. Результаты научного диссертационного исследования отражены в опубликованных научных работах авторов, включая статью в международном рецензируемом журнале, индексируемом Scopus, статью «Проект Байкал», публикацию в бюллетене KazGASA и материалы международной научно-практической конференции. Наиболее значимой является статья Сакеновой и Confirmation Factor of Building Bioclimatic Microclimate. Опубликован в журнале Жилища. А публикация соответствует теме диссертации, раскрывает ключевые теоретические и методические положения исследования и подтверждает научную состоятельность полученных результатов. Решение официального рецензента. Диссертационная работа Сакеновой Саи Мейрхановны на тему особенности формирования биоклиматической архитектуры малоэтажного городского жилища в Юго-Восточном Казахстане, ставлена на соискание степени доктора философии PhD по образовательной программе 8D 07311 архитектура, соответствует требованиям, предъявляемым в диссертации на соискание степени доктора философии PhD, считая возможным ходатайствовать перед комитетом об обсуждении Сакеновой Саи Мейрхановны степени доктора философии PhD по образовательной программе 8D 07 архитектура, официальный рецензент, кандидат архитектуры, соцпрофессор кафедры архитектуры, институт архитектуры строительства Юго-Восточного Сапаев университет Алматы, Республика Казахстан. Спасибо за внимание. Thank you for attention.
Thanks for the performance. The floor is the floor before answering and comments and answering the comments of and questions of the first official reviewer is given to the applicant Сакеновой Саи Мейрхановны. Please answer.
Thank you. Yes, microclimatic zoning. Thank you for your recommendations. Microclimatic zoning means the analytical identification of territories with dominant microclimatic characteristics. And the microclimatic differentiation is a broader. It is the principle of selecting architectural solutions according to the conditions of specific site. About the second question, for Almaty, the priorities are improving aeration, reducing overheating in dense development, considering mountain relief, and preserving green corridors. For Konaev, the key priorities are overheating protection, solar control, greenery, water elements. For Taldykurgan, the priorities are continental climate corridors, cold winter winds, so wind exposure, seasonal contrasts, building orientation, courtyard organization, and etc. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Сейчас включу.
The floor is given to second office of reviewer, PhD Kožahmetov Adlet Yerbolova. Please.
Thank you, dear participation committee. Written review on the dissertation of doctoral candidate Sai Meyrhановны Sakenovой on the topic specific features of the development of bioclimatic architecture for low-rise urban housing in southern East Kazakhstan, submitted for the degree of Doctor of Laws with PhD under the educational program AD 07311 Architecture. The first criteria combines with the priority directions of scientific development and state programs. Here, the dissertation corresponds to a priority direction of scientific development approved by the highest scientific and technical commission under the government of the Republic of Kazakhstan. The dissertation corresponds to the priority direction. The research addresses contemporary challenges of sustainable urban development with particular emphasis on enhancing the energy efficiency of residential buildings, adapting architectural and planning solutions to local natural and climatic conditions, and creating a comfortable and sustainable living environment in southeastern Kazakhstan. Importance for science. The selected option of the work makes a significant contribution to science, and its importance is well disclosed. The scientific significance of this research lies in its examination of the bioclimatic adaptation of low-rise urban housing within the specific environmental and urban context of cities in southern East Kazakhstan, rather than through a purely theoretical and generalized perspective. The dissertation provides a systematic analysis of how key factors, including topography, wind patterns, solar exposure, building density, green infrastructure, and site spatial organization, influence the selection and application of architectural and planning solutions. Principle of independence, level of independence is high. The author's level is assessed as high, and the applicant independently developed the research framework, collected and systemized empirical data for 3 cities, conducted a comparative analysis of different types of low-rise residential environments, and formulating architectural solutions tailored to specific microclimatic conditions. This model provides a coherent framework for adapting low-rise housing to local environmental and climatic contexts. The relevance of the dissertation is justified. The relevance of the dissertation is convincingly justified by current challenges in architectural design and urban development. The growing demand for low-rise residential construction and sustainable housing solutions requires transition from the application of uniform climatic standards toward design approaches that account for the specific natural and environmental characteristics of individual locations. This need is particularly evident in the cities of Almaty, Konar, and Taldykurgan. And the research therefore addresses an important scientific and practical problem and demonstrates the necessity of developing differentiated architectural and planning solutions adapted to local microclimatic conditions. The content of the dissertation reflects the topic of the dissertation. The dissertation reveals the theoretical foundations of bioclimatic architecture, analyzes the climate and urban planning prerequisites for the formation of low-rise housing, identifies microclimatic types of sites, and proposes design solutions. The internal logic of the research can be traced from the analysis of factors to practical recommendations. The aim and objectives corresponding to the topic of the dissertation. They are focused on examining the principles of bioclimatic architecture, the logical relationship between the aim and the objectives ensures a systematic logical relationship between the aim and the objectives ensures systematic investigations of the research problem and facilitates the achievement of scientifically grounded results. All sections and provisions of dissertations are fully interconnected. The theoretical foundations established in the first section provide the methodological basis for the analysis of natural, climatic, and urban planning factors, as well as regional architectural experience presented in the second section. Building upon this analysis, the study develops a methodology for the microclimatic differentiation of the urban environment and formulates the author's model of differentiated architectural design. The findings and conclusions of each section are logically interconnected, consistently support one another, and contribute to the achievement of the overall aim of the dissertation research. 4.5, the new solutions proposed by the author are critically analyzed and provided. And the originality and validity of authors' proposed solutions are substantiated through their comparison with established principles of bioclimatic, energy efficient, and climate response architectural design. A notable strength of the dissertation lies in its context-specific approach rather than merely acknowledging conventional passive design strategies. The author systematically relates these strategies to the particular environmental and urban conditions of the site. Factors such as wind exposure, solar access, natural ventilation, potential topography, green infrastructure, and urban morphology are analyzed as determinants of architectural and planning decisions. This approach enables the development of differentiated design solutions that are responsive to local microclimatic conditions and regional characteristics. The results and provisions are partly new. The scientific novelty of dissertation lies in systematic identification, classification, and integration of the factors influencing the development of bioclimatic architecture for low-rise urban housing in southeastern Kazakhstan. The key original contribution of the research is established of microclimatic differentiation of the urban environment as a methodological framework for architectural and planning decision making. While the study builds upon established theoretical foundations of bioclimatic architecture, it advances this body of knowledge by adapting and applying these principles to the environmental, climatic, and urban conditions of the region, thereby extending their practical relevance and methodological applicability. The conclusions of the dissertations are partially new. These conclusions provide a basis for the development and context-sensitive architectural solutions and respond more effectively to local climatic and spatial characteristics. The technical, technological, economic solutions are partially new. The work systemizes design techniques by identifying planning, volumetric, spatial, architectural, and structural solar and daylighting, aeration, and microclimatic groups. Of particular significance is a correlation of these techniques with different types of microclimatic zones, which increases the applied value of the research and allows its results to be used at stage of pre-design analysis and architectural design. All main conclusions are based on scientifically significant evidence and are sufficiently well substantiated. The conclusions are scientifically substantiated. They are based on a comparison of climatic and urban planning conditions of the three cities. The presented conclusions logically follow from the collected material and correspond to the stated morphology. 7 main provisions submitted for the plans. The provision has been proven. Scope of application is wide. The first provision, the need for microclimatic differentiation as a basis for the development of bioclimatic low-rise housing. Second provision, the factors, structures of site analysis, natural, climatic, territorial, and landscape, urban planning, and architectural planning parameters. The third provision, the author's model and system of differentiated solutions for zone-oriented design. The provisions submitted for defense have been proven within the framework of completed research. They are not trivial since they are aimed at clarifying the design methodology for specific urban and climatic conditions. The scope of application of the results can be assessed as medium and wide. They are applicable and in the educational process, pre-design analysis, and the practice of developing recommendations for low-rise residential development. Principle of reliability. The choice of methodology is justified to solve the stated objectives. The author uses a set of methods: analysis of theoretical sources, comparative study of design experience, graphical analytical consideration of climatic and spatial data, classification of microclimatic situations, and systematization of architectural solutions. The methodological apparatus corresponded to the nature of the dissertation in architecture. The work uses modern methods for interpreting architectural and urban planning information, processing of climate data, cartographic-based materials, comparative tables, active diagrams, typological matrices, and the author's graphical models. These tools make it possible not to describe, but also to structure the conditions for the development of bioclimatic housing. Theoretical conclusions models identified relationships and regularities have been proven. Given the nature of architectural research, which is primarily focused on theoretical development and methodological substantiation, the level of evidence and argumentation presented in the dissertation can be considered adequate and well-founded. 8.5 important statements are confirmed. The key provisions of the dissertation research are substantiated by references to relevant domestic and foreign scientific sources devoted to architecture, sustainable housing, construction, climate adaptive design, energy efficiency, and urban planning analysis. The source base used to make it possible to characterize the degree of development of the research problems sufficiently and to determine the place of this dissertation in contemporary scientific discourse. The sources used are sufficient. The literature review includes the main research areas related to the theory of bioclimatic architecture, sustainable development of the urban environment, climate adaptive design, and the specificity of low-rise housing, regional features of architecture in Kazakhstan, as well as methods for studying and assessing microclimatic conditions. The dissertation has theoretical significance. The work clarifies the relationship between the microclimate of a site and architectural form, planning structure, orientation, building depths, buffering spaces, aeration, and green spaces. The dissertation has practical significance, and there is a high probability that the obtained results could be applied in practice. The results can be used by architects and design organizations when selecting the orientation of residential blocks, forming courtyard spaces, applying buffer elements, developing facade solutions, organizing protection against overheating, and ensuring natural ventilation. The principle of linking these solutions to a specific type of microclimatic zone is especially valuable in this work. The proposal for practice is partially new. Their novelty consists in the regional adaptation of known bioclimatic design techniques and their integration into a unified system of solutions for low-rise housing. The practical result is that the designer receives not a general set of recommendations, but a differentiated tool for site conditions. Quality of academic writing is high. The material is presented in a consistent scientific style. Reviewers' comments. To enhance the practical applicability of the research findings, the dissertation could be supplemented with a conscious implementation framework of checklist integrated for use by design organization and urban planning authorities when applying the proposed recommendations. The second, the discussion of certain architectural and planning solutions could be further strengthened by including brief consideration regarding their structural visibility and economic efficiency in the context of large-scale, low-rise residential developments. These observations are intended as recommendations for further refinement of the work and don't detract from its scientific novelty, theoretical significance, or practical value. Overall, they don't affect the positive assessment of the dissertation or the validity of its main conclusions. Criteria number 11, scientific level of the doctoral candidates' articles on the research topic. The applicants publish works correspondent to the topic of dissertation and reflect the main research results, like the factors shaping the bioclimatic microclimate of a building, microclimatic differentiation of low-rise housing, the potential of sustainable and intelligent technologies, and the development of residential building in Kazakhstan. The article confirmation factors of building bioclimatic microclimate in civil engineering and architecture demonstrates sufficient international level of approbation of the results. The publication in the KazGASA bulletin directly addresses the use of microclimatic differentiation, which confirms the connection between the applicant's publication activity and the content of the dissertation. Decision of the official reviewer, final decision, the dissertation of Saiy Meyrhановны on the topic specific features of the development of bioclimatic architecture for low-rise urban housing in southeastern Kazakhstan, submitted for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, PhD, under the educational program 807311 Architecture, meets the established requirements for the dissertations submitted for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Based on the above, I consider it possible to petition the committee to award Saiy Meyrhановны the degree of Doctor of Philosophy under the educational program 807311 Architecture. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks for the reformers. For the reformers, the floor for answering the comments and questions of the second official reviewer is given to the applicant Сакеновой Саи Мейрхановны. Please.
First of all, I want to thank the reviewers for the recommendations and comments. The first comment was about implementation framework or checklist. So in the dissertation, the main task was to scientifically substantiate the differentiated approach and formulate a system of architectural recommendations. At the next stage, these results can be translated into an applied checklist. And the second comment was about structural feasibility and economic efficiency. So the focus in my dissertation was placed on architectural and bioclimatic principles rather than on detailed structural or economic calculations. I consider these recommendations for further research. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Saiy, please sit down. Sit down, please. Now we turn to the stage of discussing the thesis. Dear members of the dissertation council, as well as those present in the hall who would like to speak out and express their opinion on the submitted dissertation, please.
Okay, good afternoon. Can I start from my side, please?
Please, Professor Islam.
Thank you very much. Okay. First, I would like to acknowledge this invitation, and it's a great honor to be with the committee for several times. And really, I acknowledge the way of dealing for the subject and the performance, which is, I acknowledge the effort from the committee. The second issue about the dissertation that I'm talking today about, it, I reviewed it before a few weeks. Really, it is very interesting subject, and as we all of us know that about the bioclimatic issues and the challenge happened with the global warming, this thesis at the time, the right time, because regardless about the economic value, which we cannot control anything now because it's a global changes, but now we are facing a very big challenge. So I believe, and I would like to thank Professor Dina and Professor Osama for supporting the student, because the subject, it's very interesting, and the way of dealing it is highly professional for the subject. And I believe, and I recommend to benefit from this thesis in a very promising way, let's say. What I'm talking about is that the student take the subject seriously, and she did a good effort in both language, English and the Kazakh. I believe that there was in Russian and the Kazakh. I'm not familiar with the text for the main thesis, but in overall, she did it in a good way. The English version, it is very clear. What I will try to recommend, it's just something minor and not, but by all circumstances, touch the value of the thesis, because the value, it is very strong and nice. And some points from my side, it is, let's say it's minor. After my dearest colleague talk about it today here as in for the reviewers, something, for example, if you allow me, a very minor issue, but I need for in the proofreading for the overall for the thesis in the English should be re-examined again. And I recommend to keep in all the theses the term low-rise urban housing, because some places she wrote low-rise building, some places she wrote low-rise just, and some places urban housing. So I recommended to keep in constant one term, so it will be much better in the dissertation. Again, something minor, which is, again, I keep saying minor because it is, I enjoyed reading the thesis and the contents of it. It's highly professional, as I mentioned before, about the definitions and the terminologies. The definitions regularly, it is, which is in page, in the English version, it's page 4. Regularly should be a reference for each definition. So I recommend just to put a definition, and especially when she used word atrium and courtyard. So this should be, both of them should be clearly examined, explained, because when we examine the term atrium, different from term courtyard, and there is no front courtyard and back courtyard, as in sometimes had been mentioned in the written. There is no front courtyard. Courtyard, it's a courtyard. It's a place that's surrounded by walls. So there is no term of, like what I said it, in front courtyard or back courtyard and so on. I hope my English is clear. I will talk a little bit slow so you can understand what I'm saying. Okay, so another issue about the, please.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so for the, yeah, for I have, if you allow me, just I would like to continue some minor issues as well. For example, here, okay, for the study, I recommended to mention the environmental hazard in terms of earthquakes and something like that, which is natural hazard, because as far as I understand that Almaty has a problem with the earthquakes and so on, at least should be mentioned when we are talking about the construction, because there is a big talking about the construction issue. So I recommended to include just a notes, minor notes about it. In the term, in the English version, the student used building construction in many places, which is should be architecture, not building construction. World construction different from architecture. But I understand from the text that she means architectural, not construction. So it should be clear. Something like term safe. Safe, it's elastic words. Could be in different issues. About the for the literature review, it's very comprehensive and very good. But I recommend for the literature review to include references or citation for most of the part, because most of the part it does not include it. It is very clear that there is a clear citation before, but I recommend it to include it in the text itself. When we go for the study aim has 5 objectives, which is with the PhD, it is overloaded for her, but she did it well, which is, again, I acknowledge and thanks very much for her and for the staff. Because I wrote here in the front of me my notes. Okay. In the okay, some parts I keep saying that what does that mean, because end of the day I understand it is translation from English to Arabic, English to Russian or Kazakh. So I recommend it to do proofreading for the thesis before it's published in English. The last point, which is really I support and I encourage again to make more professional publication, because I understand from Professor Osama that they already published in international journal. So I support the idea to keep publishing about the subject, because the value of the research is very good. And the way of dealing, again, it's good. I understand about the economic value mentioned by one of our colleagues here today, but I am, in the other part, I'm not defending for the student, but economically now we have a challenge of the pricing. It's a change every day according to the global changes happen. So we can give figures, guidelines, but we cannot focus in certain budget. This is from my point of view. And for example, here in our Gulf area, we don't expect any fixed price within a week. So we cannot fix it. So I believe it is the same in worldwide, because of the global changes here for political economics and so on. Here is this is my ample abbreviation, a conclusion for what I am talking about. Finally, I would like again to thank the student and the supervisor for providing the community with a valuable point of research, which is in hand today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe
Professor
Arken
Islam.
Maratovich is invited. Please, Professor.
Sorry, again, please. Sorry.
Кто? Исенбаев? Please, Исенбаев.
Нет. Есть желающие?
Или еще желающий? Maybe Professor. Ага. Please.
Профессор Галаудинова.
Professor Laudinova.
Thank you so much.
Mihribanov.
Dear head of the scientific council, dear members of the dissertation council, distinguished professionals, let me say about my opinion about this dissertation. The first one, I think this topic of this dissertation is really, really actual for our country. Not just in our country, but the whole world, because the problem of the microclimatic architecture for the urban housing is very practical. And one of the advantages of this dissertation, I think, is a real practical approach to this problem. And I think Sai made the best for decision of this problem. I think this dissertation is very well structured. It has very good structure, and I want to merge the main scope and goals of this work about what dissertation does. systematization of the data of the microclimatic architectural projects, the sustainable goals of the architectural development in general. I think it's very interesting for us because this is my own opinion. This dissertation opens a new dimension in architectural researchers and in architectural science in our country. Of course, as I remember, we never searched this problem for our low-rise buildings for the southeastern Kazakhstan. Next advantage of this dissertation, I think, the author's model, which is the result, one of the results of his research. And I think this model is a very entire, very filled by the practical suggestions for decision of this problem, the microclimatic. Of course, microclimatic architecture is a part of our national traditional architectural historical buildings. And I think in the sense of the identity of our architectural style, entire in the world, basically, it's very important to make some suggestions for these types and technologies of construction. That's why I think this dissertation is a real important of our architectural theory today, and I hope these results will be implemented to the practice of architectural technology. And I think KazGASA is will be PhD doctor will make very useful advantages and achievements in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, next.
Stop.
Is there no more speakers? Proceed to the secret ballot procedure. Voting will be conducted online, though there is no need to form of accounting commission. I ask that only members of the dissertation council on official reviews remain. I ask all other participants of the meeting to leave the conference hall before the voting is completed. Please, Amanda.
Можете выйти, пожалуйста. Да, все выходят. Ол жоқ қой чатта, мен оған
Уже все проголосовали, да?
Уважаемые коллеги, кто онлайн, прошу проголосовать. Мы ссылку скинули. Чат можете увидеть.
Хорошо. Посмотрим.
Окей.
Инструкция по голосованию. Видео, подождите. Все.
According to the standard provision on the dissertation council, permanent and temporary members of the dissertation council, as well as official reviewers, participate in the secret ballot procedure. We have 8 people. Instruction for online voting were sent in advance to all voting participants. Please proceed with the voting procedure. We have 8 people participating in the voting. Please vote. To announce the results of the secret ballot, the floor is given to the academic secretary of the dissertation council, Dr. Mышева Айнур Сакиновна. Please.
Thank you, members of the dissertation council and official reviewers had to express their opinions by the secret ballot. Do you think on the of the following solution of the dissertation council? Following the voting, the following decision was made by a majority vote to petition of the committee to award Саи Сакеновой doctoral of philosophy PhD degree in the educational program AD 07311 architecture. 8 voices.
Dear members of the dissertation council, do you have any question to the academic secretary regarding the result of the secret ballot? No? If there are no questions, let's move on the final part of the meeting. Dear members of the dissertation council, all stages of the dissertation defense procedure have been completed by Сакеновой Саи Мейрхановны. The meeting was held in accordance with the established rules and requirements of the regulatory documents based on the public defense of the dissertation, a comprehensive study and the results of the documental dissertation, the results of the secret ballot, the dissertation council of the International Education Corporation decided to apply to the committee for the advert of the PhD degree to Сакенова Саи Мейрхановны according to the educational program AD 07311 architecture. The floor is given to applicant Сакенова Саи Мейрхановны.
I want to thank you, first of all, dear chairperson, and to thank all members of the Dissertation Council and all colleagues. I do appreciate all your questions, comments, and recommendations. I will consider them in my further I'm so sorry, I'm overwhelmed. In my further development of the research. So thank you. Thank all of you one more time.
Yes.
And I'm so sorry. Also, can I add, I want to say my big appreciation to my scientific consultants, my domestic scientific consultant, Professor Dina Amandekova, Dina Amandekova, and my foreign scientific consultant, Professor Usama Kumber. Thank you for your guidance and for your support.
On behalf of the Dissertation Council, I would like to express my gratitude to the applicant Sакеновой Саи Мейрхановны, to foreign and domestic scientific consultants for high quality scientific views, to official reviewers for objective and informative reviews, as well as participants of the meeting for active participation and observation of academic ethics. The meeting is ended. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye. Спасибо большое, уважаемые коллеги.
Спасибо,
Да,
до
можно
свидания.
выключать. Спасибо большое.
До свидания.
До свидания.
Всем до свидания, части, всем спасибо, всем коллегам, до свидания.
Всем спасибо. До свидания.
Спасибо.
Вот.